Hi, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about moving or relocation. So let's get started. So first and foremost, let's talk about why I even want to consider a budget for moving, and that's because, surprise, there's usually some hidden costs that people forget about. So as always, we're going to start with one that may come to mind and some people don't realize. Moving truck / moving services. So if you have a lot of stuff, then you have to consider whether or not you are going to go the do-it-yourself route and move all your stuff by renting like a U-Haul trailer or an actual truck and drive yourself down, or whether or not you're going to pay for a service in which people that you pay for will come get your stuff and then move it across country or town or state, whatever. Kind of depends on your moving situation. Why this matters is because it's really dependent on a couple of factors. How far are you moving? How much stuff are you moving? And then do you even have the patience and the strength to do it yourself? Now, yeah, you can have a couple of friends to help move you. If you are going from a small like studio apartment, there might not be a lot of stuff, or you can pack a lot of stuff in your big car and do a couple of moves if you're local. That's great. But there are sometimes situations where you need to pay for a mover, or you have to actually ship your stuff if you are going overseas or moving to, like, let's say Hawaii, Alaska. Now there's now a cool third option where you kind of like pack it all into a pod and then they just pick up the pod and then move it for you. So one of the hidden costs of moving is actually moving supplies. A lot of people don't realize that packing supplies can be expensive. One way to get around this is, of course, hitting up a local like Facebook marketplace, as well as hitting up some like local liquor stores, sometimes big box companies, and getting boxes from them. For the Facebook marketplace, you can actually usually find other people who have just moved, and then you can take their boxes. You can reuse your Amazon boxes. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways, but I will highly warn you right now that buying boxes from, let's say, UPS, U-Haul, those type of like packing shipping places, they're expensive. So you want to make sure that you keep that in mind. And sometimes you may have to go there just because they may have a box size that's unique for your situation. Now, sometimes for some people, you are unable to move directly to the home that you're going to be in right away. And then you have to think about storage costs, which is taking all your stuff, moving it into a storage place, leaving it there, and then the cost to move that stuff a second time from out of that storage to your new place. Now, storage fees can vary in a lot of different ways. One is whether or not you need it to be climate controlled, because there are places that have them outside, there are places that have them inside. Also, just the size of your unit, whether you're just going to have one or multiple units. These are things that you will want to consider, and also the fun of unpacking your stuff and fitting it into a storage and then getting it out. That fun little Tetris game you're going to be playing it to get your stuff into the truck, then get your stuff out of the truck into the storage, and then how do you safely take that stuff out of storage without toppling things over back into a place to then move it to your stuff. All right, a fourth thing that some people forget about is cleaning costs. Now, depending on where you are coming from, if you had a lease agreement, and some people, when you just sell your house, you want to be nice and have it freshly cleaned before you leave. That also includes getting your new place cleaned before you arrive. Some people do it, some people don't, but just so that way you have a good idea. In general, paying for your house to be cleaned while it's empty can be like expensive up front, but actually is a little bit cheaper than having like maintenance done, because then they don't have to like move furniture around, and they could really do a deep clean before you get in there and live in it and make it messy. One alternative is doing it yourself, so buying cleaning supplies and going at it. And the DIY route is a valuable route and one that a lot of people will do, and it's just a cost-benefit analysis of your time and cleaning supplies and whether or not you actually enjoy cleaning. It's all about your priorities and values. Utility connection fees. So this one also catches people by surprise, especially when you go from a renting situation to a home ownership situation. A lot of people don't realize is that to connect utilities, you often have to pay a deposit. So they can often do a credit check. They'll give you an amount. Sometimes your fee gets waived if you have strong enough credit. If you are moving locally from one place to another but still within the same like service area, they can sometimes just take the original deposit and keep it for your next place. But sometimes if you're moving to a whole new place, then you have to think about how much is it going to cost you to start your services. Temporary housing. So if you're in a situation where there's a gap in between when you can move into your new home and when you have to leave your old one, then you may have to consider either doing a short-term rental, Airbnb, going to a hotel. It's dependent on how much time you need in between places. And last but not least is registration plus license fees. So this is really if you move out of state, which for some is an often thing. And so I wanted to bring this up because people forget that they may have to re-register their car or their driver's license, or if you are like us where you have a medical licensure, then you may have to also renew and get a new medical licensure, which can be hundreds of dollars at a time. And so you want to make sure that prior to moving, you research this, you know how much it's going to cost, and that way you have that saved. Also, in cases of medical licensure, it sometimes can take time and you may not be able to work at your new job until you have that licensure. So you want to make sure you have a good time frame of how long it may take, so that way you aren't out of work. Another thing is you may also have to just take a day to deal with DMV. So that's just another thing you might want to consider, just how much time are you going to be taking in order to get all your stuff squared away. So yeah, that was just a basic list of some things to consider that may potentially impact your budget when it comes to relocating. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. Do me a big favor, give this video a like, and until the next one, I'll see ya. Bye!